This episode is brought to you by Homes for Our Troops, a nonprofit helping build and donate homes to injured post 9/11 veterans. Visit hfotusa.org for more information. And welcome to Military Matters Fast Take. I'm Rod Rodriguez.
Hey, I'm Jack Murphy.
And we are talking about our last episode, episode 4 of this season. NPR reporters investigate a friendly fire incident in Iraq on their podcast, Taking Cover. So last episode, I got to talk with NPR Pentagon correspondent Tom Bowman and NPR senior producer Graham Smith. Now, I will tell you, folks, if you've never had an opportunity or haven't given yourself a chance to listen to an NPR podcast, I'm telling you, you're missing out. Go and listen to NPR, National Public Radio, puts out some of the best, most high quality podcast productions that you're going to get a chance to listen to. And this show, Taking Cover, did not disappoint. And I'll just give you a quick once around the world on this one, and I'm not going to reveal no spoilers or anything, but basically 3 years ago, Tom Bowman got a tip about a friendly fire incident during the first battle of Fallujah in Iraq, where 2 Marines and an Iraqi interpreter were killed. And that was when an 81 millimeter mortar was mistakenly dropped on a schoolhouse. And then the government, the Marine Corps, the government, however you want to, DOD, however you want to pose this, the entire incident was covered up because the lieutenant, the young lieutenant who was responsible for the fire was the son of a prominent politician. This sounds like a Tom Clancy novel. This sounds like fiction, right, Jack? Like this sounds like something you would read in a book.
I mean, that it goes right up to the top like that so quickly is very interesting.
And it's interesting, but it's also annoying. It's annoying. And I hate to say, I know maybe that's not even the right word, but I feel annoyed by stories like this. When the government, when the Corps, when these entities that we should trust, that we are told on a daily basis from, especially when you're a service member, that transparency is essential to mission success, that we have to own our failures as individuals, as my team. If my platoon screws up, I have to own that as a leader. And then you got situations like this where, well, nobody took ownership. They covered it up.
Yeah, it's very disenfranchising, very, very depressing. Three of the main leaders I served under in the Army. I mean, one of them, tragically himself was the friendly fire death in Afghanistan. Another leader that I served under he is in prison right now for the January 6th stuff. And then another one I recently found out he was kicked out of the military with 19 years in for travel fraud. So, and I think the part of it that really hurts me, and I'm sure hurts a lot of veterans, is, a lot of these people who we find out these terrible things about are the same people who lectured us as young soldiers about honor and integrity and doing the right thing. And in some cases, really inappropriately shaming young soldiers for minor mistakes, right? And all you guys know the type of person I'm talking about is a soldier makes a small mistake and they get dragged into an office and absolutely chewed out and destroyed for making some sort of, mistake that maybe they did need to be counseled for, but, they don't need to be destroyed as a human being, right? And then you turn out that same person is actually doing really, really bad stuff. And I'm mentioning a few cases, but I mean, we've all heard the stories about, the leader that's, committing sexual assaults and also, if not murders, and all sorts of other insane things and insane cover-ups. And the military has this sort of problem with this because it's such an insular institution that it gets away with it, sometimes longer than it probably would otherwise.
I'm always amazed at how military organizations, their components, profess to be tough, hard,
Right.
and then they get wind of a story that could affect them even slightly negatively, and their sensitivity level goes through the roof. I mean, it's like snowflake syndrome. Like, oh my God, we can't possibly deal with this level of scrutiny, cover it up, making sure it never happened. It never happened. Like, it's like a kid. And we were talking about this in the pre-interview. It's like when your kid does something wrong. And the first thing I used to tell my kids is, if you screw up, tell me right away. Time does not make it better. It makes it worse. Tell me when it happens and we'll fix it. Or we'll sometimes you can't fix it. You just got to address it and then move on, lesson learned kind of thing. But the military gets so wrapped around the axle. Like it kind of has this idea that it is a sacred duty. It is I guess not what's the word I'm looking for? Not defamation, but it's sacrilegious. It's sacrilegious to hold them accountable.
Military is something sacred.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
So sacred that it's above reproach or critique.
And that's the feeling I get from this. And I don't think we're seeing anything that we haven't seen before. Pat Tillman, that was a classic case where, it took time for the real story to come out. And then when it did, there was a lot of mea culpas. There's a lot of people dragging their feet to the microphone. And even then, people were speaking what I can only describe as military jargon and military ease. Instead of saying, we did this in plain language, it's a lot of like, I'm going to use flowery language to soften the blow because it's going to take you time to figure out what I just said.
Right.
And that keeps the, what I mean? That keeps the emotional impact. That's what we're seeing with taking cover is another case of waiting, hoping this doesn't happen. But here's the thing, folks. And I was telling Jack, no matter where, especially today and in the future, Twitter allows somebody, thousands of miles away in the middle of Syria to tweet and take a picture and send that out right there. And then we have this connection. You can literally pick up your phone and be connected to somebody in a war zone in the middle of a fight, and you're getting it from right then and there. The world of internet and podcasts and all this other stuff, it makes journalism tougher in some respects, because like you really have to balance timely news with responsible news. You got to check your eyes and just cross your T's, dot your I's, and all that good stuff, but also be fast and report what you see. When the government does stuff like this and doesn't and tries to cover it up, there is always a Jack Murphy around the corner. There's a Tom Bowman around the corner. They're gonna find out, and 10 years from now, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad when they find out and have to report on these stories. Jack, you've covered a lot of stories in the past where the word cover up was used. My question is, as a experienced and seasoned journalist who's covered stories like this, are these cover-ups malicious? Do you find these cover-ups are malicious? Like, we don't want anybody to find out what we did? Or is this cover-up, or these cover-ups occur because these people that are making these decisions to cover up, do they legitimately believe they're doing good by the organization?
No, they're malicious and they're selfish. They're all about taking care of number one. It has nothing to do with the organization, although that's the top cover, right? That's the false front that they'll sometimes throw out there. One particularly egregious case that I know of, a soldier was dragged into an office and told, why would you want to taint the Band of Brothers reputation? Why would you want to tarnish this storied unit's image? And got him, and it worked at that time. It got him to shut up. And that was regarding a sex assault case. So it's real. What it really is the brass trying to protect their own careers. But none of them will hesitate to wave the flag. Of course, I think the the interesting thing is, when you read about this, about, quote unquote conspiracies or cover ups in the public, they think these things are a lot of times are like politically motivated, in the sense like partisan politics. Like they think that, well, you voted for this guy and you also voted for this guy, so we're all in the same camp politically. And so they're there twirling their mustaches and wringing their hands as they come up with some sort of conspiracy or something. I've never once encountered anything like that. All the ones I've ever encountered it's about covering up someone's own blemishes and mistakes, hiding that, hiding crimes in their unit because it's easier to hide them than it is to address them. The military operates in this sort of zero defect environment. So the natural inclination is always to gloss over something, always to bury it, always to hide it.
As we go forward with stories like this, as we talk about stories like this, is a great piece of journalism. It covers five or six episodes, I believe, and it unfolds in a way that you're glued to your headphones. You're gonna probably sit down and go through this entire series in one sitting, if not two. I mean, it's absolutely a fascinating listen to. I would suggest, and maybe this is the selfish part of Rod talking, listen to our episode first, because it really helps you set up for what you're about to listen to in their series. If you go, and you'll find the link is in the show notes for Taking Cover. Highly recommend you guys go listen to this amazing piece of work from NPR. The last thing I want to talk about in respect to cover-ups and this type of situation that we're seeing happen, and whistleblowers are bringing this to the attention of the public all the time. Do you care? I mean, that's right. What this boils down to. Do you, the audience, care? Because like I told Jack in our we always, shoot the breeze for a little bit before we hit the record button. But my issue has always been, why isn't this story about this Marine incident, why isn't this on CNN? Why isn't this on Fox News? Why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't people being held accountable? Why isn't this a bigger story than it is? And I hate to say it, but I don't think the public cares. I feel like the public's like, I'm so sick of hearing about Fallujah. I'm so sick of Iraq. I'm sick to my stomach about Afghanistan. That
unpopular war 20 years ago.
Yeah. Do you think do you think that we're, I don't know, are we desensitized now? Are we all wore out?
I think so.
We don't want to hear it?
I think so. Yeah.
It's disappointing. It's annoying. It's disappointing. And I it's funny because like sometimes I get on Jack for his short answers, because he has a tendency to not answer for podcasts. But I love that answer. It's short. It's to the point. Yeah. We're tired. The public is tired. They don't care. Folks, I hope you care. I want you to care. I want you to care about these stories and talk about these stories. Reshare. You don't have to reshare anything from Military Matters. That's fine. Share their podcast, share the NPR podcast, share Taking Cover.
The people who listen to, Stars and Stripes or read the newspaper are naturally going to be, veterans, soldiers, active duty soldiers, retirees, and military families that are like more engaged with this type of material to begin with. But I mean, when I say I think like people are kind of burned out or tired of it, I mean, I think like John Q. Public that doesn't necessarily have an attachment to the military, like they couldn't point to Fallujah on a map. They couldn't point to Iraq on a map, So I think that's kind of like where there's war fatigue, right? Yeah. And it's hard to know for the average person, like what does it mean? What am I supposed to take away from it? Like, how does it affect my life? And I mean, that's a whole other podcast. But I mean, yeah. I would be challenged to answer that question for them.
100%. And I think that there's something to be said about sharing stuff like this with folks that are military leaders. Folks that, maybe young lieutenants, young captains, send them these podcasts, let them listen to it and understand that they may be in a situation someday where that colonel is going to come and tell them, hey, this never happened. They have to take a stand. They have to be able to say, no. I'm not going to have some NPR reporter. I'm not going to have Jack Murphy knocking on my door, sending me emails in 5 years asking me about, do you know anything about this incident? I think it's transparency right up front. Let's do the right thing. So that's that, folks. Thanks for listening. I want to thank again Tom Bowman and Graham Smith from NPR. Just phenomenal guys. Talking with them was probably one of my best experiences in interviewing. They are masters of the craft. I believe Graham Smith he's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist for another podcast that he did. So this is an absolutely phenomenal story, taking cover. NPR, go check out the link. It's in the show notes. And of course, go listen to our episode, our conversation with these two amazing journalists. Just an absolutely phenomenal experience. Folks, if you want to support our podcast, of course, you can always use promo code podcast when you digitally subscribe to Stars and Stripes. Go to stripes.com. Use promo code podcast, 50% off your digital subscription. Of course, go check out the promo for our sponsor. They're keeping the lights on and the board hot. So with that, I'm Rod Rodriguez. That's Jack Murphy. We will see you at the next episode. This episode was brought to you by Homes for Our Troops, a nonprofit helping build and donate homes to injured post 9/11 veterans. Visit hfotusa.org for more information.